welcome to Socially Responsible Investing Podcast. This is episode number 10. I'm Bill Holliday with AIOfinancial.com. In this episode, I will be speaking with Marty Balin. She is with Self-Help Credit Union. I asked Marty about her background.
22 years at Self-Help. Long time.
Oh, great.
About the first half of that time, I was a small business lender. And since then, I worked to bring our work into the Latino community. And most recently, I've been working with depositors and other members really about deposits and investments in Self-Help Credit Union.
And where are you located?
I'm located in Durham, North Carolina, which is where we started and is still our home base. Her parent organization started in 1980, and then in '84 we chartered Self-Help Credit Union under a state credit union charter here. So Durham is our home base, and Self-Help Credit Union is really based in North Carolina, operates out of several offices across the state. And then in '08 we started Self-Help Federal Credit Union, which has a federal charter and is working mainly in California, and most recently has added some work in Chicago as well. And we have one overriding mission for both organizations, but they're legally separate. So there's separate insurance and there's separate, particular focuses depending on the location.
Gotcha. But both of them, you can have clients from throughout the country. Are there any limitations on that?
No. Every credit union has a common bond, and it's usually employment or location. Our common bond is membership in the Center for Community Self-Help, which is a nonprofit that has a poverty alleviation mission. So you pay a one-time $20 fee. And so we have members actually from around the world who join the center and then open up a credit union, which allows them to open up a credit union account.
Gotcha. And the focus of the work at Self-Help is poverty alleviation?
Well, that's our very broad base. I mean, basically, our mission statement says creating ownership and economic opportunity. And while we do it for everyone, our focus is on reaching people who don't have access to responsible credit otherwise, for homes or businesses or consumer credit.
And so do you go for a variety of different types of lending to a variety of different types of people, or it's focused? I mean, do you screen for that particular clientele?
We don't screen. What I would say is, like when I was a lender here, a loan officer, I would do loans to basically anyone that was a good loan, but I would do my most focused outreach into rural communities, low-income communities, minority community, to folks who were less able or comfortable in working with the traditional financial services industry.
Sure, you target them a bit more.
So we can do anything, but our extra effort goes to reaching into the untapped areas.
Gotcha. And where do you give loans geographically?
Well, Self-Help Credit Union works in North Carolina. It's all over the state of North Carolina. And Self-Help Federal works in California and is just opening up some work in Chicago now. Those are our basic areas.
Okay. And I think you're registered as a community development financial institution?
Yeah. And that basically means our mission, our focus is to do community development, economic development. That is what we're here for. That's our mission. I mean, we're a credit union, so we're member-owned, no outside investors, and our focus has always been on reaching populations that weren't being served by traditional financial institutions.
Gotcha, and that's how you qualify to be the CDFI.
Yeah, I mean,
just with that mission.
That's a U.S. Treasury designation, and there's, particular I's to dot and T's to cross to fit that. But in general, yes, it's that your basic mission or basic reason for doing what you're doing is to try and reach deeply into community economic development.
And what do you do all types of services like a larger bank? I mean, do you do loans, savings accounts, CDs, checking accounts? Do you do credit cards?
Yeah, we do all of that. We started just doing loans. I mean, initially in the early 80s, it was seeing the disparity in wealth between minority and majority populations. So, okay, you need credit to buy a home or to get a business to really change not income but wealth.
Right.
And so that's where we started. Most credit unions start with checking accounts and car loans and personal loans. We have since added that, but that isn't where we started. So we have a full range now. We just don't have a branch at every street corner.
Right. And the types of loans, there's no limit. You do home, car, small business.
Right.
Education, I assume. Yeah, okay.
I mean, that would be a personal loan, yeah.
Personal loan, right. And do you have any measure of your impact or I guess any statistics on incomes of the people you're serving?
We track that to the extent that we have that information, and we have an impact. The easiest way to do that is to go to our website, which is www.self-help.org, and the About Us section has the data. And we check generally what percentage of our loans are going to low-income communities, or going to rural communities, or going to women.
Okay.
So we don't ask for formal reporting. These are loans. These are standard loans.
Right.
But we do look at what sort of impact we're having and track that.
Gotcha. And then do you have any other indicators of how the people you're serving are being helped, or mostly just statistics on what the population is that are using your services?
We don't go back and ask people what their income is or ask for their tax returns. We don't do that. That is not in our, it feels paternalistic. We don't do that. But we do look at, we look at who got the loan, what the loan was for, where it might be in a distressed community. It might be for a particular, if we're tracking green lending, we'll look at, are we doing loans that are having an impact starting and building certain sorts of businesses.
And you track that impact by the number of clients you have that are doing that type of work. We track it on
dollars and numbers.
Gotcha. Okay. And that's available on your website?
Yeah.
Some of that? Okay.
Yeah, most of that is available in very general terms. I should step back a little bit and say that one of the things, the website is really about the credit union, but the credit union is part of a family of organizations, self-help organizations. Just like we have two credit unions, we also do some real estate development. We do some other things as well. And the credit union is the credit union. We report to the regulators as just the credit union. But we're part of a larger, so that we can extend our work and deepen our work. And because we have a lot of lawyers in the organization, we have a lot of corporations that allow us to be able to be more flexible to meeting some of the needs out there in the communities.
Could you say a little bit more about that? So you have the credit union, did you say real estate development?
Yeah, I mean,
what other type
of? The Center for Community Self-Help is sort of the parent, the umbrella, and underneath that there's a number of different corporations. Like one does real estate development, does a fair amount of that in Durham, which is our home base, so we know it best.
Right.
We own some buildings. We've renovated them in a green way. We've done some affordable housing development in our area. So we do most of the real estate. We do some real estate lending further afield, but most of the real estate development is close to home where we really know the communities.
Sure, that makes sense. And how long ago did self-help start? I guess not even the credit union, but the larger entity.
Started in 1980, and the
Okay.
credit union was chartered in 84. And we have since merged over the last 5 to 10 years, merged with a number of smaller credit unions, both in North Carolina, and Self-Help Federal has merged with ones in California. Say smaller credit unions that, especially in North Carolina, would have trouble existing long-term. They maybe started 30 years ago as a factory-based credit union, and the world has changed.
Right.
Factories aren't there, the economy has shifted, and those smaller credit unions, the future didn't look good to be able to provide all the services their members wanted. So we've merged, and it's with them, and so that's one of the ways we've expanded and sort of deepened into some of the rural areas in North Carolina.
Gotcha. And so a lot of the deposits that people are making, the CDs, that money will go into these loans to help.
Yeah, I mean, basically our loans are funded by deposits. So we have depositors, as I said, from all over the world, all over the country, and certainly close to home, who they want their money. They get insurance, they get a competitive return, and they want it to do something. They want their money to do something good, and they know that by depositing with us, they can get all that, as opposed to with some major national bank,
Sure.
They don't necessarily feel it's working for their values.
And could you the deposits are secured under, is it NCUA insurance?
Yes, the National Credit Union Administration. It's completely parallel to FDIC. There's $250,000 worth of insurance on, each member's combined accounts in each credit union. So we have some folks who may have $250,000 in each of our credit unions to get the maximum insurance coverage.
Gotcha.
And
that makes sense.
Have a CD or a money market, whatever suits, or a checking account. But, usually it's people doing IRAs or CDs or money markets. They're putting away savings in some way.
Yeah. And your rates look very competitive looking online. Do you, since you're serving a riskier population that it sounds like some of the larger banks won't touch, do you have a higher default rate, or?
We've always run a somewhat higher delinquency rate. I mean, if we're working with folks who are, speaking generally, more low income, not exclusively, but more low income, there's going to be a higher delinquency, but our write-offs have always been comparable to the larger traditional institutions. So we will run the delinquency a little higher, but we work with folks. They can actually call up and speak to a human being on the phone and work something out. That so our write-offs have been, have been comparable to anybody else's, and so that's been great. I mean, and I would say that type of service orientation is a key part to what we do. Our goal is not to make the quickest buck, but to keep people in their homes.
Sure.
And so it's a whole different thing of, what system. And we've always had a system that works with the borrowers. And so we're just set up that way, as opposed to the larger institutions. That's not their goal. They don't care if somebody stays in the home. They just need the bottom line to work out in a certain way.
Right. That makes sense. And the plan is expanding into Chicago. Do you have any other areas that you plan to have a physical bank? Although people, sounds like throughout the country, could still open accounts.
Yeah, people throughout the country can open accounts with us. California and North Carolina are our most intense areas. We're moving into Chicago because of a particular a local bank actually that was being shut down, and the FDIC was selling it to another local bank, and all those 1,100 mortgages were up for grabs, and basically the bank was going to, foreclose. And so we're working with a community group, and so there was a particular opportunity there.
Gotcha.
And we had particular people who were familiar with the situation, so we could evaluate it and feel like we could be of some use there.
Oh, that sounds great. And with opening an account, is there a minimum amount?
Well, for a number of the accounts there isn't, but for a money market or a CD, there's a minimum of 500, and you can do it all online or electronically. You'll have to scan in some ID information, but you can also download applications and do it through the mail or call us on an 800 number, whatever way is most comfortable for you.
Sure, that sounds great. Anything else you want to add?
What else would I add? I mean, we're known as a community development financial institution, and there are certain communities that we really know and are very deeply involved in. But if somebody's in Illinois and they don't have an institution there that is doing that sort of in-depth work in their community, a number of investors choose to put some of their savings with us. At least, it's working in the same general area, the same value. So, people have to make that decision. If you can't get all you want, what is still moving in the right direction for you?
You're right. It's a nice insured alternative to some of the big banks.
Right.
No, that's wonderful.
It's CDs and money markets. It's not equity investments. It's not those. It's, if you want something safe and solid and with a decent return and reflects your values, you can have it.
Right. Yeah, that's wonderful. Okay. Well, thank you very much, Marty, for your time.
Thank you.
To summarize, Self-Help Credit Union offers a full range of banking services. They currently are in North Carolina, California, and Chicago. Please know that we are not recommending banking services to everyone. Discuss it with your financial advisor. Make sure that this bank or this credit union is right for you, just as a disclosure. They are a community development financial institution, which means their mission is to help provide access to credit for people that otherwise wouldn't have access to reasonable credit rates. That's it for episode number 10. Next podcast, we'll be talking with someone from ProMujer Microcredit. Thank you for listening to the Socially Responsible Investing Podcast. Again, I'm Bill Holliday with AIOfinancial.com. Please let me know what you think. You can visit us, AIOfinancial.com. Welcome suggestions, comments, questions. Email me, bill@AIOfinancial.com, or call me 520, this is an Arizona, U.S. number, 520-325-0769. Thank you.